We're going over the artifacts today. We've been cooking with them on the PTR for a few days now, 5-6 days, and it has been a blast. The Angry Earth expansion's looking good. This PTR has been great. One other great feature has been the subscribe and like buttons that you see down below. So make sure you hit those. It helps me out a ton. I appreciate it. And it lets you know when more content's coming out. Okay, let's get into the video. Let's get into it. I'm just going to start in my inventory here from the top and work down. So starting off with the hammer, the Spark of Mjolnir. I'm probably saying that wrong. Either way, it's the lightning hammer. Interesting enough, this does not scale off of intelligence like some of the other 99% like converters do. So, which is kind of odd, but it is what it is. Anyways, I did a lot of testing with this thing. Pretty cool, pretty fun. Really strong perk here, 50% weaken on the Mighty Gavel hits for 7 seconds. Strong in PvP and PvE. The cooldown reduction, this can be pretty cracked. The refreshing move's nice. And then, of course, you craft a gem slot on there to buff it up a little bit. I don't know how much of a place this has in the meta. It could be the Spark perk could be potentially, countered by another artifact I'll go over here in a moment. But it was a ton of fun to play. Mighty Gavel, still kind of a bad ability, and the whole hammer is based around that ability, so that kind of holds it back. If you do try to commit to this ability, it's really weird on the build pathing, so you do have to kind of give up some more crucial hammer perks, which I'm not a big fan of. So either way, moving on to the next one. The wall, really cool tanking shield. So you cannot dodge, which is pretty cracked, right? Like pretty massive as far as not being able to dodge. But you have 33% more stamina, so you can block a lot. You have 5% base damage reduction, which is a great perk to have through the tower shield. If you haven't been on the PTR yet, so all shields have their own buffs now. So for example, the tower shield gives 5% base damage reduction. The kite shield has 5% cooldown reduction, and then a round shield, I'm pretty certain is 5% base damage increase for your own damage. But anyways, continuing on, of course, sturdy with the shield wall, 33% more stamina, can't dodge, is great. Chromatic ward, 25% less damage from all the elemental sources. Awesome. Dude, I'm telling you, I fought a ton of people using this shield, and they are so hard to kill, man. You literally, if you just walk away from them, just get away, stop hitting them. And then, of course, you could craft to change the shield, the void shield ward to whatever other perk you want there. So, really cool artifact. I actually like it a lot. I don't play shield, tank very often, but this was really cool. The Inferno Fire Staff. My personal thoughts on this, I think it's kind of troll. I think it has, if it didn't split to strike damage, I think this weapon has a ton of potential. In its current state, I think it's going to be ultimately made in a lot of meme builds. A lot of the strength passives don't buff its damage. Some of them do, some of them don't. And that, to me, is kind of a problem with this weapon, whereas intelligence only buffs the 2 fire damage portion of it, right? So it's buffing the minority of the damage in a 99% scaling, unfortunately. But really cool perks on it, other than the fact that it does strike damage to throw it off. The cool thing is, with it being strike damage, a lot of people run a little bit lower strike protection in their gem setup typically. So maybe you could get some nice clean hits on some folks, and that kind of boosts your damage because they don't have as much defense towards it, right? 20% damage when you hit a target within 5 meters. Really cool since it is based around Incinerate. Pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, I think it is a cool weapon. I think it's kind of memey, but I think it's cool, All right, next. The Odo. Pretty cracked, not gonna lie. This flail is pretty strong, pretty fun to play with. On block, heal for 5% of your base health. That stacks with the healing defense on Michael or other kite shields. But anyways, we'll get to Michael here in a second. You deal 20% more damage to stun foes. Works on both weapons. Decent perk, not crazy. Can perk, I mean, it can pair well with like the hammer or sword and shield, depending on, because it is on both weapons. Life stealing, refreshing move, pretty good on the flail. And then the last one you can craft, I got blessed on my roll, which is cool. Okay, arguably one of the more broken weapons, especially in terms of PvE, but for both. So Balance Blade, cracked. So 2% in power per attack for 5 seconds. Max of 10 stacks if you're in the offensive stance. And then it's 4 to 5 if you're in defensive stance. Trenchant Strikes, Trenchant Crits, and Refreshing Move. And then you roll the last one. So if you wanted to, you could be a Chad. You could roll, Vicious there, whichever. I mean, you could roll some pretty cracked stuff here. So I think Vicious. Actually, don't quote me on that. I could be wrong there. Either way, really cool. Greatsword does massive, massive damage in a PvE setting. And it's good in PvP. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this thing slaps. It slaps. All right, the Scorpion Sting. I don't know if this thing makes it to live in its current state. The Sting perk is crazy. Javelin now does 160% weapon damage, which is great. I mean, Javelin more damage, has the Sundering Javelin perk on it. Sweet. And pulls the target towards you. So this thing has a base pull. So if you hit somebody like super far away, they're not going to like zoom all the way to you. They're going to come forward, 10, 15 meters, whatever it is. Same thing if you hit them in point blank range, they're going to shoot past you. But it is so trolly, so memey, but so strong. People have been making crazy builds with it. If they don't change it, I see quite a few of these things floating around, especially in OPR. Maybe in Wars, they can get creative with it. It's a really good disruptor weapon. Yeah. The cooldown is super low on the Javelin. It's cracked. This thing is wild. Honestly, super fun, super memey, super toxic if it's on the other side. Really cool artifact. All right, the Finisher. The Finisher is pretty cracked as well. So, basically, the Finisher Harmony attacks against bleeding targets deal 15% more damage and reduces Flourish's cooldown by 5% with the 1 second cooldown to prevent the AoE, and works on both weapons. So obviously this Rapier is for the bleed build. Flourish deals 41% more damage against targets below 50% health, which we know Flourish's damage was nerfed a little bit, but this helps it a lot a bit. And then Keen Tondo. If this perk is on a weapon, also causes a 10% weaken for 10 seconds. I don't know why they have it as weakness. But anyways, this was bugged. I don't know if it still is or not. I don't know if it will be when it's alive. Really cool artifact, though. I've seen some people pump with this thing. This thing is sweet if you're a Rapier player. Me, personally, myself, you will never see this in my hands. I'm anti-Rapier. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. All right, on to the next one. Michael. Mr. Michael. Kite Shield. Cleansing. Refreshing Cleanse. So cooldowns are reduced by 5%. On block, lose 1 debuff. Counterattack. On block, gain 30% in power for 4 seconds. Healing defense. On block, heal for 3% max. Base health, I think is what it's supposed to say there. Life stealing and refreshing. Holy smokes, this thing is bloated. Really cool shield. For medium builds, with the Kite Shield on it. I could see this on Disruptors. 1VX builds. Flail. I mean, this thing is cool. On to the mechanic. With the changes to musket, I think this is a really neat take on the trapper side of the musket. Having, mending sticky bombs, accelerating traps with extra levers where the cooldown is reduced is super cool. Obviously, the Vorpal is the perk that you can change. I don't know if I said this in the beginning or not, but on these artifacts, the bottom perk is the one that you can change. The rest of them are preset. But anyways, super cool musket. I don't think this is anywhere near BIS, but I think it's a fun musket. I think people can get creative and actually have some really cool builds with this thing. Pestilence. This blunderbuss is wicked. So, Blighted Enchantment. Attacks against targets inflict a stack of poison and a decrease to incoming and outgoing healing effectiveness by 7% per stack for 6 seconds, max of 3 stacks. I do believe this has a 1 second internal cooldown as well, because each BB does not proc these. So when you shoot, you're only getting 1 stack at a time, by the way. Pest, 15% damage against poisoned or diseased targets. Plagued crits, keen, and then you can re-roll the bottom perk. Super cool blunderbuss. I love the anti-heal effect on it. Like down here, if you want to go full on like support, you could put a Plague Splitting Grenade, or you could go Enchanted if you want a little more blundy damage. A really cool blunderbuss. I like it a lot. I won't be using it in the expansion. I have another one in mind if I play Blondie, but this thing is super cool. All right, Freya's Francisca throwing hatchet build. Honestly, kind of a just like the fire staff I mentioned earlier, kind of a mean build. Um, I think some cracked player can make this thing look really good, but a lot of players are going to make this thing look really trash, right? So, thrown axe projectiles reduce all axe skill cooldowns by 25%. 5-second cooldown. This is great. Don't get me wrong, this is great. Like I said, a cracked player is going to make this look insane. But a player who's not cracked, not so much. Powering Rending Throw, which we know is really strong. Refreshing Move, and then, which I think is kind of troll in this build. You already have the Throne Mastery, but whatever. And then Trenchant Strikes, this is what you can re-roll out. I think it's a neat hatchet. It'll let you create some, creative builds, but I am not a big fan of it myself. But still, the throwing hatchet's always been a dream of mine. Maybe this makes it a reality. Maybe this does kind of bring it forward here. We'll see. The Butcher, the Bleed Sword. Really cool sword. Bloodletting, so bleeds last 33% longer. This works on both weapons. Super, super cool. I love that effect. Works on both weapons. Jagged Whirls. Whirling Blade inflicts a bleed. 10% weapon damage for 6 seconds. I don't know if this is every second for 6 seconds or 10% over 6 seconds. I did not test that actually, but I'm thinking it's 10% weapon damage every second for 6 seconds. That makes the most sense. So AoE Bleed, which obviously is still going to last 33% longer. Empowering Whirling Blade, Keenly Jagged, and then Mortal Refreshment you can roll out of here and change. So, big time Bleed Sword, really cool. Could pair very well with a spear or a rapier, I know, I thought this was really neat. I thought this was a good idea. I don't know how much we'll see it, but I think it's a good idea. The Life Taker. So this Void Gauntlet is pretty wicked. So, negative energy. Your ranged attacks inflict Disintegrate for 8 seconds on both weapons. So ranged attacks on both weapons are now putting the Void Gauntlet Rend and Dot on players. Or on your targets. With a 1-second cooldown, so, no AoE. And if higher, this weapon scales with Dexterity. Note, it does do strike damage, and then a little bit of Void. So I have seen a lot of bow builds running this, musket builds. I've seen some different builds running this. Really neat Void Gauntlet. Really strong with the bow. Keen, Life-Stealing, Refreshing Move. And then the last one's a reroll. So, this could even be really good as a healing, a blade VG with the Keen, Lifesteal, Refreshing Move. You can put either a Vicious or just a Void Blade perk there. So, really cool Void Gauntlet there. Okay, so that's all the weapons except for the last one. The Abyss. The Abyss is cracked. So, I was a naysayer, okay? So, when the Abyss was first revealed, the night the PTR notes were finally going out, I dug into this thing, and I read it, and I thought this thing was going to be hot garbage, okay? So I read Darkened Blade, 99% of the damage is converted to Void, and if higher, it will scale from Intelligence. I'm like, okay, this is great. I actually love this. Although, you lose 10% melee damage on the, I think it's the 150 perk now. Anyways, it's a strength perk, gives you 10% more physical damage. You lose that here. It does not come with the gem slot. You have to roll that onto there. Abyss, this is what spooked me the most. Abyss. Deal 20% more damage when mana is below 100%. So, why this scared me was, okay, I don't have a damage con on here, right? I don't have Thwarting Strikes, Vicious, Thwarting Counter, Keen. I don't have any of that. I have an Attunement. I have Refreshing Move. This is my damage con, Abyss. How do I maintain this? Obviously, with the hammer, you can't. So you have to go to unconventional means. So you're going in intelligence or some form of mana spending weapon. So my first thought was Ice Gauntlet. I think that was most people's first thought. Because, okay, Ice Gauntlet Great Axe was a meme before, back when Ultimate Chill was bugged. Or, I shouldn't say bugged, before it got fixed or changed. And it worked out really well. Like, man, I'm going to have Entomb, I'm going to have Ice Wall, I'm going to have, either Storm or Pylon. I can make this work. Well, the problem is just staying under 100% mana. Ice Gauntlet cooldowns are a little bit longer. So now, your mana, it's harder to keep it down, especially if you're popping regen potions. So then that's really not a good option. It's hard to maintain the Abyss. So then it comes down to either Fire Staff or Void Gauntlet, both of which actually work really well. I've had a blast running Void Gauntlet. I didn't do much Fire Staff, but I would say Fire Staff is probably the better one if you're looking for a single target like Light Assassin build. And you're going intelligence with it. The intelligence damage is higher than the strength damage. Baseline even. Not even considering the Abyss proc. So, I mean, all the way you're going intelligence scaling with this weapon. Unless they change it. If they nerf intelligence from PTR to live, maybe that's not the case. Either way, this does do still good as a physical weapon or as a physical build. Just understand you have to have a magical offhand at that time, and you lose some of the damage on the magical offhand. I've had a good experience running this as light and medium with a Void Gauntlet. I was running, Scream, Orb, and Tether, but I was only taking Tether plus its first perk. I was not going past for the extra mana regen. The Orb, I just was trying not to shoot it in the clumps too much. I was hitting it on like single targets. To diminish their buffs, their fortifies and stuff. But Awesome Axe probably needs a nerf. If it doesn't, maybe the intelligence skill line needs a nerf. Either way, this thing does insane damage. I want to note, I've had multiple crits over 10k on players with this Great Axe. It's wild. Okay, armor. I'm going to save the Jin head wrap for last. So going into the Nimble Leather Coat. This thing is wild. So it gives you highly refreshing. So it puts you 2 refreshing perks over the cap if you have the cap already. And it has health on it as well, and you can reroll the freedom. But this thing is crazy good. Love this chest piece. Played it in a couple different builds. Felt really good in every one of them, honestly. Magnetic Gauntlets. These gauntlets, unless you're running, I would say, 500 con Void Gauntlet, like support heavy build, I would not touch these. The reason I say that is this. Crit chance increased by 50%. Amazing. Crit damage reduced by up to 50%. Obviously, that's going to destroy your crit damage, right? Well, when I was testing this, it actually reduces your crit damage below your normal attacks even. For whatever reason, I thought that wasn't possible. It's possible. So yeah, unless you're going just a pure support, I don't care about my damage build. These are a little bit troll. In my opinion. Tumbler shoes. These things are cool, man. Successfully dodging an attack gives you 15% in power, so shirking and power on the amulet. 25% fortify for 5 seconds, so 5 shirking forward on your armor. And you're also healed for 200 plus 2% of your max health to simulate the shirking heals. Awesome. Just keep in mind, nullifying oblivion, buff removing perks will remove that 25% fortify, but you could just dodge again in a couple seconds to get it back. So really cool perk. I think a lot of people are going to be running this artifact. On the PTR, it's in the season pass, so I assume it's going to be in the season pass as well on live. Refreshing physical aversion, then you re-roll the bottom perk. Pretty handy boots. I think both light and medium builds can use these. Light probably won't too much. Maybe they will. I don't know. But nonetheless, really cool builds. Sorry, I had to yawn there. Void Dark Plate. Your armor is increased by 20%. This thing was bugging on me throughout the entire PTR. Every time I tried to test it, my armor values kept changing left and right. So I don't know if it's bugged or maybe user error, although I don't believe so, but maybe so. I don't know. Um, really cool idea. I think this is really good and heavy, especially if you're working with some shirking fort on your build. I think it's good in medium. Again, if you're working with, all shirking fort possibly or potentially, I think it's got a lot of potential. Enchanted ward and physical version on it as well, which is really nice. Featherweight jacket. This thing, a lot of people kind of look at it like, weightless, whatever. It's not a big deal, but it is. So you're getting refreshing and physical version, sturdy energy perk you could roll to whatever. The weightless means it's literally 0 weight. So you can add a shield onto your build, or you can add another heavier piece of armor to gain, more armor within a weight class. So you could be light with a higher armor rating than other lights. Lost Stopwatch. This is a PvE tank amulet. I think it's okay. I think it's neat. I don't know if it takes off or not. So we'll see. I didn't really do a lot of testing on this, to be honest. I didn't do much PvE testing at all. So I don't know. We'll see once it comes out. Once the dungeons hit and we actually try to mix it into our tank sets, maybe. But I'm not 100% sold on this one yet. We'll see. Time will tell. Blood Drinker. I've seen a couple builds use this pretty well, but for the most part, it's kind of troll. Goals Harmony, minus 25% damage, but you gain 25% lifesteal. So I've seen this on some builds that are massive left-click healing builds, and it was fun to watch. Dueling builds and stuff. It was really fun to watch, but I don't know how viable it would be. More testing, maybe we're like, wow, this is cracked, but I'm not 100% sold on that yet. This artifact's kind of bugged out. I don't know if this was meant to be here or not, this amulet. The Gray Wizard's Hat. This thing is cool. So first to note, 45 intelligence. If you look at all these other ones have 32. This one has 45. Also note, it's intelligence, not magnify. You get 100% more max or more mana. Refreshing, physical aversion, and then you create a perk, on the bottom one. Or choose a perk, rather. Really cool helmet. I actually like this a lot. I didn't go to the Gray Wizard's Hat. That's what's up, man. Attuned leather pants. Some really cool builds could come with this. Okay. 50 magnify on the pants. Compared to 32. 50. Which is crazy. Well-rounded. Plus 10 to all other attributes. Refreshing, elemental aversion, and then your perk on the last one. Really cool pants. You can make some cracked split builds with these. One that really sticks out in my mind is Greatsword. That's one that's kind of multi-statter. So these I'm very curious to see what builds come out with these pants. Endless Thirst. I don't think these are too bad. So here's the thing. The Thirst. Health potions are 33% stronger. I'm going to tell you right now, health potions kind of down bad right now, folks. They do not heal as good as they used to. And man, you feel it. But the cooldown is 20% longer. It does have Refreshing Toast, so it's truly a 10% longer cooldown. On Potion Drink, you gain 10% more in power. 20% Fortify for 4 seconds and 3 seconds. That works on Cleansing Potions. That works on any potion you drink in your consumable bar. It works on. So, pretty cool. Freedom. I've heard a lot of people go crazy about these pants. I did a little bit of testing with them. They're nice. Not going to lie. They were nice. I don't know if I'm going to commit to them. They're on my radar. So, Unending Freedom, Stun, Slow, and Root effects expire 25% faster. So, basically gives you 2 freedom for free, plus a third one. So, you're getting 3 freedom with one piece. Enchanted Ward as well, which is really nice, especially if you're in heavy. And then the last one you can roll. I'm assuming you're probably going to want to roll health just by looking at it. But either way, really cool. Heavy legs. Could work very well in a heavy or medium build. So pretty cool artifact. I think a lot of people are going to be using this artifact here. Gold gloves. This one is cracked. Okay. I love the idea on this one, especially in a 1v1 situation, right? 1vx or dueling. I think this is sweet. When you hit a foe below half health, transfer 1 debuff, 3-second cooldown. I think it's cool. I think it's a fun perk. I don't think these really have much of a place in the meta. I think there's better 1vx artifacts or 1v1 artifacts, but I think with the right build, this could be really, really cool. Refreshing, elemental version, both great perks to have. And then empowering breakers, the roll perk. The next one, unyielding. Hard head, receive 20% less damage from critical hits. Basically makes you, resilient cats, essentially. For the most part, there's a little bit of creep, where they might be able to creep over, but for the most part, you're not taking any extra crit damage. Refreshing, shirking fort, plus you get to roll a perk. Same thing, the right build is going to make this helmet look really good in terms of stats. Visually, this thing is dog, man. It looks so bad. Okay, now the last one I'm going to talk about, the one that I will most likely be running in most of my builds, the Jin head wrap. So, why? Why would I run this in my builds? Shrug Off is wild, and I'm going to tell you why. So, non-crowd controlling debuffs expire 20% faster on you. So that's all the debuffs that you see below, basically. The Vigor and Invigorated. So burns, bleeds, poisons, weaken, disease, exhaust, and rend. So that's 20% there. Plus it has Vigor and Invigorated. So you're getting 35% towards both of those categories. If you run 5 Invigorated with this, well, 4 other pieces plus this hat, you're at 95% reduction of weaken, disease, exhaust, and rend. You are basically immune to those 4 status effects. In a clump situation, which is typically where I'm fighting a lot of times, you're unstoppable. I mean, it's just fighting the sacred ground and you cannot die. Super cool artifact. I feel like it's been slept on. A lot of other content creators really bash this thing, and I think it's top tier. I think it's one of the best, to be honest. I mean, to not get diseased, weakened, rended or exhausted, I think it's cracked. I think some other of these artifacts can, contend with it for sure. I think there's a lot of value in a lot of these other artifacts. But I think this is super, super strong. So, definitely something to watch for. Awesome. Well, that's all the artifacts, guys, that are currently in the PTR. I don't believe I missed any of them, so I appreciate you being here. Please, don't forget, subscribe, like, if you want to see more of the content. And we'll keep them pumping. I got some other PTR videos that I've been cooking up, some different builds, and some different reviews on some of these artifacts, a little more in-depth coming out. So definitely peep those videos, and I'll see you in the next one, man. Appreciate you. Peace.